And we are connecting, and we are waiting to go live. We are almost live. Hang on. Still got a black screen. There we go. And we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with too many YouTube channels. So what we did last time around was we reacted to a video on stream, and then we kind of incorporated any chats. We kind of turned around and made this reaction video into a actual video, and that video performed like crazy. Granted, there weren't a ton of people who exactly liked the video, and maybe I need to go back and watch why, but regardless, the video performed. We're going to be doing the same thing. I came across this video that I've been wanting to react to for a very long time. It is how the UFC pushes degeneracy, and it is by Aniki MMA. You can check out the links for Aniki in the description down below, and we're going to do the same thing for the video. I am excited to watch this because every single time that I come back to this video, and every single time that I see this in my playlist, it's been doing better and better. So with that being said, we're going to be reacting to the video today. I am excited for this, and like I said, we're going to be turning around, making this into a video. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. And of course, I ask that any chats keep related to the video so we can title the thing like, hey, Clenbat and community reacts to this video.
Live from LA, and you can jump in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. Super easy for first timers to get started.
And right away, I in case depending on what the thumbnail was, I think I included it in the thumbnail because I kind of like made the thumbnail similar. The video was how the UFC pushes degeneracy, and it had Bud Light, it had OnlyFans, it had gambling, and it had Nina drama in the profile.
When you look at UFC 312, ladies and gentlemen, we definitely got Prize Picks. Now, Prize Picks is a daily fantasy sports game where you can play directly from your phone.
Yeah, everybody's promoting it now. It's funny how like invested they're getting into like just Prize Picks in general. Like they are really starting to take over.
7 for the Rouge, $1.50, do you say?
Video sponsored by prizepicks.com. Play $5, get $50 instantly in promo funds using code GURU. You have to use code GURU.
And I understand that people look at gambling being degenerate, man, but I can't blame any single one of these people for having a sponsor like that. I mean, I do Odds Jam, which is I don't think it's necessarily better, or it's not better or worse. It's the same thing. You get paid to do it. It's not a big deal. People are going to gamble anyways.
Or it's absolutely useless.
Boys, I need this bad. This is my mortgage for the month.
Use o meu cupom e é isso. Ruber, diretamente de Signo.
I didn't know Charles Oliveira was getting involved in it too.
Toma.
That's funny.
Another Sunday poker game.
Wait, hang on. Paulo Costa streams? What? Dude, I had no idea that was a thing.
Another Sunday poker game.
Paulo Costa streams poker? Dude, I had no idea about that, and I'm like so invested in this sport.
But first, I wanted to take a moment to thank the sponsor of today's video, DraftKings Sportsbook. Ever been in the hole for $15,000 sports betting on UFC fights? Well, I have, and I think the one thing you learn from losing everything is that you never really had anything to begin with in the first place.
Okay, that's gotta be satire though. Like, I get it, man. I get it, and it's very true that gambling destroys lives. But I don't blame the people for promoting this, man. You just gotta have some self-control. Like, look at me. I'm playing around with like, in the grand scheme of things, I play around every week with like very little money. And look, I have a fun parlay that I do. I only throw $5 at it. How many people do you know that are throwing like hundreds of dollars at a parlay? Hey, what's up, Leo? Gambling is a hard thing to avoid in sports, but people like Jones being involved in the sport makes you question its morality. Yeah, that's a good point. and how great and how nicely they're treating Jones too. Did I not play the video? Oh, I did. Okay.
As fans of mixed martial arts, I'm sure that you've become all too accustomed to the constant advertising for betting companies, online casinos, and other forms of gambling that pervades all content related to the sport. Sports gambling has become completely normalized in MMA culture, with everybody from the UFC to fighters to even independent content creators.
To be honest with you, I don't. Maybe it's because I'm not too involved like in any other sports. Like I watch hockey, but I don't keep up on it. Maybe it's because I am so obsessed with the sport, but I feel like it is like more common to be betting on MMA than it is to be on any other sport. If anybody like keeps up with any other sports and could back that up, I'd appreciate it, because I don't know. It's just kind of a gut feeling.
Promoting services like DraftKings, MyBookie, and PrizePicks. There are even entire YouTube channels which are entirely dedicated to betting on MMA. However, we need to ask ourselves this. Is this culture of permittivity towards gambling in MMA healthy? Does running endless advertising campaigns promoting online gambling, a market which is still lacking in regulation after being legalized in the US back in 2018, help or harm MMA fans as a whole?
I feel like they'd just be doing it anyways. That's a problem. That's why I'm thinking like it might be a little bit too deep into it. If you want to have the conversation about, like, for example, what LFA does with OF, where it's like, hey, you just watch this girl fight, now you can go see her naked. That's probably a lot more damaging to people watching than gambling is.
In economics,
but then again, I would have the same argument where it's like, okay, you need to start having some self-control.
Gambling is considered a demerit good, which means it is a
sorry. I just noticed MMA Joey channel membership.
service that causes harm to the consumer when used.
That's sneaky.
And in most cultures, gambling is seen as an addictive vice. And on top of gambling, the UFC promotes, whether directly or indirectly, other addictive products which can have detrimental effects on its audience.
Yeah,
Notably,
I mean, we've heard it before. We've heard it saying, we've been hearing this saying forever, gambling destroys lives. And my dad still tells me every single week not to bet too much. I'm like, I know, I got it. But it's true. It does destroy lives. I've even had somebody in my life that's had their entire life destroyed by gambling. It's sad.
The UFC is currently sponsored by not one, not two, but 6 different brands of alcohol. And when it comes to sexualized content, while the UFC does not explicitly advertise websites like Pornhub, it not only allows its fighters to make pornographic content for sites like OnlyFans, but has integrated a former pornographic model, Nina Maria Danielle.
Yeah, that's the one where, and the thing is, I don't look at it and I go, oh my God, that's too far, because like realistically, everybody's getting drunk in a crowd and everybody's watching a couple people beat each other up. So where's the line drawn? You've got ring girls, you've got like, it isn't exactly like the most wholesome thing in the entire world. It makes sense to promote gambling. It makes sense to promote, it doesn't make, I wouldn't say it makes sense to promote OF, but it makes sense to promote alcohol. I personally don't have a problem with it, but I just chalk it up to everybody needs to have some self-control.
More commonly known as Nina Drama, into its media ecosystem. Nina Drama, a former nude model for Playboy, is one of the largest influencers in MMA media, with unfettered access to fighters for interviews, and who receives endless promotion from the UFC itself.
And I've said the same thing about Nina that I've said on the channel before. Like, when she first bursted onto the scene, she was having those very unique interviews. She was doing a fantastic job at it. I really, really enjoyed it. She got a different perspective on the fighters, made them... You would typically take a fighter like Alex Pereira, who was a little bit more serious, and you could see a little bit of a goofy side to him. That was great. And then Nina, continued on the path that she was going. Leo said, I always love how they would nonchalantly put infinite amounts of alcohol in the tough house, and then Dana would act surprised when they get into drunken brawls. To be honest with you, I've never thought about that. Maybe it's because I keep meaning to watch this new Tough season, but I haven't watched Tough in a very, very long time. But yeah, what's Dana supposed to do? Yeah. Yeah, I put that there so you guys would have gotten drunken brawls, and then it wouldn't make for good TV. That's what I did.
She is the furthest possible thing from an independent journalist, saying herself that she is an industry plant. And when it comes to the way she markets herself and her content, she does so with a heavy, heavy emphasis on sexualizing herself, despite knowing...
Hang on, she posted that with Habib? My God.
that much of the MMA audience is underage.
I gotta talk about it. But I remember thinking to myself, there ain't something right about that girl. There's something about that woman that ain't right. The way she...
And I just saw a video of him not too long ago going, oh my God, she's like the best. She's like my little sister. She has the biggest heart in the entire world.
Walked, the way she looked, the way she talked, I knew it. She's a succubus. You gotta run away, bro. Hot girls are a dime a dozen. We'll get you one. We'll get you ring girls. We'll get you...
And I've always been so conflicted on this too, because people are like, oh my God, look what you're doing on YouTube. Oh my God, look what you're doing, because there's 9-year-olds, there's 13-year-olds watching this type of stuff. But I also kind of place that responsibility on the parents to the kid. Like, okay, if your kid's like a little obsessed with this girl named Nina Drama, you might you need to be up to date, man. And I guarantee, like, when my kid starts growing up, I'll be up to date on the internet and who they're watching and stuff.
You two at the same time, bro. You gotta pull the ripcord.
So, why does the UFC seem so bent on pushing products and services that are harmful to their fan base? And why has consuming these products become normalized among MMA fans? Well, today, We'll be examining this topic in depth and looking at the real reasons behind why the UFC wants you to become a degenerate and how they plan to make you one.
Well, I mean, look at the gamblers in general. They got them watching every single Apex card under the sun. It's a good thing.
So getting started, we first need to ask ourselves this. What is the main audience of the UFC? I covered this in part during my Why is MMA So Right-Wing video, but the answer
I want to watch that video. I you know what? I don't recall if I've ever watched this channel before, but I will definitely be watching more. Like, the video's good so far. I made a video a long time, well, I mean, not really a long time ago. It was somewhere after the election, because it was shocking to me seeing a bunch of people or seeing a bunch of fighters. And for context, before you're watching this video, anybody in the stream, I keep my political opinions to myself on this channel. I just ask that you don't assume anything about me. I just can't believe how many people were shocked about fighters being right-wing. How many fighters posting this like, all right, it's time for change, and then all the comments would be filled with like, oh my God, to think I respected you. Something like that. And I was like, you thought an MMA fighter was going to be anything other than right-wing? And then I made a video about that, but I kind of just like rambled off for like, what, 6-8 minutes, something like that. So I'd be interested in watching that video big time.
Is quite clear. The core audience of mixed martial arts is men, with most of them clustering around 18 to 35 years old.
I would say even older than that, to be honest with you. Like, just men in general.
In that video, the vast majority of the audience is some variety of conservative, whether that be Trump supporters in America, Bolsonaro backers in Brazil, or the Muslim audience in places like Turkey, Pakistan, and the UK. Although, to be honest, political leanings won't play much of a part in the main argument of this video. If you've ever taken any marketing classes and not slept through the lectures, or worked in marketing at some big company, you'd have heard of the following two terms: market segmentation and buyer personas. Market segmentation is a process where a company will divide up its customer base into subgroups known as segments, which can then be catered to by using tailored marketing strategies.
Yeah, and the OC is doing a good job at that for sure. Sorry about that. I just looked at that. I thought that we had a different chat over there.
So to give a random hypothetical example of segmenting the UFC fan base, we might divide up fans based on geography. Most fans in Brazil are going to be fans of Alex Pereira, and more fans from Russia, the Middle East, and urbanized parts of the UK are going to be fans of Ankalaev.
And I've always understood that obviously you want to cheer from the guy from your own country, but I've never really related to that, man. Maybe it's because I'm from Canada and we have like no sense of pride over here. But I always looked at the fighters as the individuals of like who I would like to support. Like for depending on when you're watching this, because again, we're going to be turning around and making this a video, I could care less where Sean O'Malley or Merab Dvalishvili are from. I kind of like both guys. It doesn't matter to me. It's like prime example. I was the only one over here not cheering for GSP against Johnny Hendricks. I liked Hendricks.
So that certain things will sell better to different groups, as they all have varying needs. If I were a company selling test kits for STDs, I'd sell those in Brazil, not in Saudi. But on the other hand, if I were selling DNA test kits that people could use to check to see if their cousin wife was too closely related to them, I'd market heavily in the Gulf states.
All right. YouTube, I'm very grateful to be on the platform over here. I would never condone such disgusting points.
Moving on to buyer personas, to put those simply, those are the idealized profile of a consumer for any given product.
Oh, that's actually kind of cool. Like asking AI for the, what do they call it, the buyer profile? So you have Jake Miller, age 32, male, although female fandom is growing, male still dominate. It's got to be at least 80%. Urban or suburban areas, often the U.S. Occupation, blue-collar worker, entry to mid-level professional, construction, sales, IT. Income level, education, ethnicity diverse, but predominantly Caucasian in the U.S. You think? I thought it was kind of all over the place. Family status, single in a relationship, often no kids yet if married, likely has 1 to 2 young children. Interest, combat sports, boxing, wrestling, MMA, fitness, culture, action movies, video games. Interesting. And craft beer and energy drinks.
A good buyer persona should have an ideal consumer's thought process, demographic data, overlapping interests, and most importantly, what drives them to consume your product. There's multiple different ways to segment a customer base, be it along shared demographic characteristics.
Dude, I'm starting to read all of this. It's actually like, dude, as crazy as the world's going to get with AI can just be so incredible.
Interests, similarities in age, and other factors. While the overwhelming majority of the UFC's audience is men aged 16 to 54 years old, you can divide the UFC into various segments of 16 to 50-year-old men. To give a less offensive and less humorous example, there's probably a segment of the UFC fanbase which is solely interested in the technical and competitive side of mixed martial arts, a good representative of which would be Jack Slack. These fans would likely be older, prefer long-form detailed content, and are probably more likely to watch other combat sports promotions besides the UFC.
That's this guy, but I feel like that I kind of fall into a bunch of different avenues with the UFC fan. I love the sport. I love the technique of it so much. Dude, anybody catch one championship card last night? It was phenomenal.
And on the other hand, there'd be fans who are invested in the UFC for the drama and the narratives, who, whether they'd like to admit it or not, see the UFC as a variation of the WWE, but without pre-written storylines. These fans are probably more likely to be younger, more impulsive, prefer short-form content like TikTok and YouTube Shorts.
Yeah, guys, and I'm sorry, I've never really understood the hype behind WWE. That one's just not for me. That one I personally do not understand why people enjoy, but I'm glad that people do. And I know I'm in the minority because those things sell out like crazy.
And probably only exclusively watch the UFC. There are probably also many more of these fans than there are the older Jack Slack-esque fans. Now, if you're a company looking to market a product by sponsoring the UFC, you're obviously going to tailor your marketing to go after the younger and more numerous fans who are lower in impulse control.
I don't know. Maybe that would have been true back in the day. I kind of disagree with that. Now everybody has no impulse control. Adults, kids, doesn't matter. Nobody's able to control themselves anymore. During lockdown, Dana captured all the sports bettors since he has heavily tried to push gambling. Yeah, that's true. Do you know if there are any other sports that are like as into betting as the UFC? But yeah, I never really thought about that because during 2020, people were so bored. That's when all the sports betting channels started coming up, right? And that's when I started going heavy. And I mean, like, granted, I didn't just make sports betting content. I started going hard in 2020 for YouTube.
As that is what is going to lead to greater profits. And let me tell you this, the UFC knows much more about the MMA fanbase than it lets on. And that's because all major companies use AI technology to basically stalk every single social media platform.
Yeah, and if you think otherwise, because I have to deal with this type of thing on other channels, on Clen Day and on the Clen Channel. If you think otherwise that companies aren't using AI, I don't know what to tell you. That's crazy.
A good example of this is the service called Sprinkler, which gives a 360 view of over 30 plus marketing channels. This service allows companies to scrape as much data as they want to from platforms like X, Instagram, and Facebook. If it was the UFC using this service, they'll be able to tell which fighters are being talked about the most, which events have the most buzz, and all sorts of other things by simply looking at which keywords are being mentioned the most.
You can also, that's great that there's an AI. I've never used that program before, but you could always use Google Trends, though. I'm sure the UFC's been on that for a while.
The UFC knows which side interest fans have, what other products they're interested in, what they think about Bryce Mitchell's comments regarding a certain painter, and probably 100 other things.
I am glad my face cam was covering that one, because I would have to go back and blur that.
To list here. And of course, the UFC is going to pass this information off to potential advertisers. Now, I don't have access to the UFC's data on the preferences of its fanbase, but I think I can make some educated guesses about the segment of the fanbase that the UFC is targeting the most. As I stated at the beginning of this video, alcoholic beverages and gambling companies make up a large chunk of the UFC sponsors.
And it makes sense because those are two things that'll never die. Like, no matter how bad the economy gets, no matter how bad the state of the UFC gets, people being upset with Apex events and all that, there will always be your sports bettors, and there will especially always be your alcoholic drinkers.
But have you ever wondered just how big that chunk is? Well,
it's huge.
Take a look
it's
at
got
this
to be.
Article that listed out all of the sponsors that were affiliated with the UFC and picked out those which were related to alcohol, gambling, or crypto. Out of a total of 52 sponsors, there were 7 gambling sponsors and 6 alcoholic beverage sponsors. This means that 25% of all of the UFC sponsors are considered demerit goods.
Dude, I wonder how much money they're making from that. I would love to get a number just out of curiosity. It's probably like, I can't even imagine. It's probably so much.
And if you add in VeChain and Crypto.com, which are related to cryptocurrency, that percentage rises to 28.8%. Now, why would purveyors of gambling and alcohol be so disproportionately represented among the UFC sponsors? Why are these companies so eager to buy up advertising space in the octagon? The answer, I believe, lies in one key term: risk-taking behaviors. Now, what constitutes a risk-taking behavior varies.
Somebody who sees, hey, you can use my code to sign up and get $5 free, and somebody's going to be right there. I mean, we've all done that. I've tried out different sports betting apps just because, like, there's like, oh my God, I can get $50, and then I'll just like make a parlay, because I like to stick to one app. I just make a parlay, and if it hits, it hits. It doesn't, it doesn't. But I've done that, and I'm somebody who has a ton of self-control. I can't imagine the average person.
Is based upon how you wish to define the term. But generally, risk-taking behaviors include activities like binge drinking, ingesting illegal drugs, and having sexual intercourse without protection. Basically, risk-taking behaviors are just that: impulsive activities that have a high likelihood of causing extreme harm to oneself or others. And if you're psychologically prone to engaging in one risk-taking behavior, you're likely to engage in others. If you like to drive drunk and have crashed your Bentley Continental before...
Dude, the pictures that Jones takes are just... You know, it's things like this is why the allegations exist, eh? I don't know. I just look at that guy sometimes like, man, I can't believe that he wants to fight Ngannou now, by the way.
You are also more likely to use cocaine, performance-enhancing drugs, and
guy's
probably
just using
T-bone
John
a pregnant
Jones.
woman in a felony hit and run. And personalities which are likely to engage in risk-taking behavior aren't just prone to doing physically dangerous things. A 2010 study showed a correlation between gambling and other forms of risk-taking behavior.
Yeah, you think? Shocker. Anybody who drinks, anybody who likes to watch a bunch of people kill themselves in the octagon, anybody who gambles.
Gambling involves a high probability of loss versus a small probability for massive gain, meaning that it has the potential for extreme highs and disastrous lows. Now, guess which demographic is most likely to have personalities that are predisposed to risk-taking behaviors?
No, I mean, obviously it's young people now, and it's only growing with time. And I want to know in like 10 years' time if it's still the younger generation.
If you said any answer besides young men, please go subscribe to MMA Joey or Kenny Okoye, because you're genuinely too stupid to be a part of my audience. There has been study after study.
This guy has just been taking shots. Like, they've been like sneaky placed in the video. It's kind of funny.
Showing that young men are far and ahead the most likely demographic to engage in risk-taking behaviors. This is evident from crime rates, college dropout rates, and all sorts of other data. And let's be real here. Combat sports itself is a form of risk-taking behavior. You're stepping into a ring or a cage with another guy who is trying to choke you unconscious, tear your joints apart, give you a traumatic brain injury.
And a lot of people who are like super invested in this fight are interested in having that actual literal risk-taking behavior and getting into a fight too.
Even beat you by a 48-47 control time decision. There's a reason why most parents object to their sons wanting to become professional fighters, even though it's really badass. Fighters.
Yeah, I had a fight with my mom about it for years and years. Like, and don't get me wrong, I didn't want to become like a professional fighter or anything, but I've always been interested in that. And if anybody happens to be new to this channel, my background is Muay Thai, MMA, and Jiu-Jitsu. I've done it most of my life, but life got really busy with work, and now I'm starting a family, so I haven't done it in a few years, and I miss it with all my heart. But when I was first getting into it as a kid, I had to like fight with my mom about it because it's something that I wanted to do so bad. And I get it, man. Like, I would never let I mean, I have a daughter right now, so it might be different for like my son is definitely going to learn how to defend himself. It just matters like what age.
Make pitiful amounts of money while shouldering enormous risks to their health. Every year, thousands of guys get brutally KO'd on the regional scene, where they're paid a couple $1,000s at the very most. And even if a fighter makes it to the UFC, they're much more likely to go 0-3 and get cut immediately than to go on a run like Conor McGregor. Hell, there's even a relationship between riding motorcycles and risk-taking behaviors. And guess what? Harley Davidson has been a sponsor for the UFC for as long as I can remember.
I mean, but let's be honest, if you're going to advertise it to people, and I wouldn't, to be honest with you, I wouldn't put motorcycle riding with the same thing as what they're doing with gambling.
From the kind of advertising that the UFC is putting on at its events, the target customer base is pretty obvious. Young men who are prone to engaging in risk-taking behaviors. This is why, when John Anik promotes DraftKings, he frames betting in terms of getting more excitement out of watching the fights.
To be honest with you, though, and I understand that that's just a trick, I get it. Okay. But betting does make the fights a lot more exciting. Even if you have like a horrible WMMA bout or something where they're just doing nothing, if you have a bet on one of them, it's like, let's go. And like every little thing that they do, it's a little bit more exciting.
He's trying to get the audience to chase the dopamine high of coming out on top after engaging in a risk-taking behavior.
And if anybody watches the betting guide videos, you would know that something my sister and I do every single weekend is we put 10 cents on every single underdog. And it gets to like this astronomical number sometimes, but it's fun. We get to cheer for the underdog every single weekend. And then sometimes like a few underdogs win in a row and we get a little bit of a high there. It's fun, man. It's harmless, but the problem is it's harmless because we understand the dangers of gambling and we only throw 10 cents at it, okay? It's not like what people are doing out here.
Now, of course, having a personality which is prone to risk-taking behaviors isn't an inherently bad thing. A good example of this is Conor McGregor in his early days. He took a risk on himself by pursuing mixed martial arts full-time, and it made him the most successful star in UFC history. There's also many successful entrepreneurs who probably have personalities which are prone to risk-taking behaviors. What it comes down to is whether or not you're channeling that desire to take risks into a good, productive endeavor or into something that's harmful to you. Are you going to pursue an MMA career to the furthest extent of your ability? Or are you going to drink yourself into oblivion? Are you going to start that business you've been thinking about? Or are you...
It's sad that if you ever want to do anything great, it requires risk, but not everybody's willing to do that, right? It's a little sad, but it's just the reality of the world, I guess, eh?
Going to gamble all your savings away on sports betting and meme coins.
That one's ridiculous, but like, again, it could work out. I just can't imagine being in that space. Again, I've known somebody who's destroyed their life betting, man. It's crazy.
And well, the UFC wants you to pick the second option in both cases. Currently, U.S. gamblers are on track to lose $1 trillion by 2028.
Wow, I believe that. But it's the crazy thing is though, like there's safe ways to go about betting, but that's not the fun way, right? It's not fun to just like pick like a -200-300 favorite and just go with that. Do you think it bothers fighters like Islam who are deeply religious but sit next to Bud Light ads fighting over DraftKings Octagon and wearing a crypto jacket? It probably does. I would imagine they have those conversations when they go home. Oh, hey, Mr. JOI. only 1 billion. No, I believe it gets up to $1 trillion. 100%. I wholeheartedly believe that. But yeah, they probably have a lot of talks about that, but the money's probably too good for them, especially because like they're pretty outspoken about their belief.
In Australia, where sports gambling has been around for longer, an estimated 25 billion Australian dollars have been lost to the bookies. That is $1,000 per man, woman, and child in Australia. And that's including people who don't gamble. In the MMA community, gambling is so normalized that people don't bat an eye when even independent content creators like Guru and MMA Che take gambling sponsors. And honestly, I find this to be pretty bizarre.
I don't find that. I mean, I'll listen to his reasoning in a second, but I don't find it bizarre at all. Again, like I have Odds Jam sponsored over here. I don't think it's a big deal. Oh my goodness. Hi, Sonny. Excuse me for a second, guys. Hi, baby friend. Hi. Have fun. Thanks. I love you both. Hi. Here you go, Sonny baby. Whoop. Good girl. Good girl. Love you. I don't know if anybody else... I have to spell this word because my dog will go crazy. I don't know if anybody else has this or it's just a hometown thing, but there's a thing called art in the PARK. If I say that word, my dog will go crazy, and my wife is taking the baby over there with her dad right now. Anyways, I forget what I was about to say. Mr. JOY, only 1 billion. You felt it would have been more than $1 trillion. So I think $1 trillion kind of makes sense. Like $1 trillion's a huge number.
Because gambling is proven to be as addictive as any drug out there. Like, we get on the UFC's ass for partnering with Prime Hydration, but we then just shrug our shoulders when everybody in the sport is sponsored by digitized fentanyl. There's even channels and content creators dedicated to betting on MMA that declare themselves to be proud degenerate gamblers. And to me...
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a meme, though. I don't think that... I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think that anybody, like, promotes themselves as a degenerate gambler where it's like, hey, look at me, I'm actually a degenerate. It's just, like, kind of a meme at this point.
This is incredibly stupid. Saying that you're a proud degenerate gambler is tantamount to saying that you're a proud degenerate alcoholic or a proud degenerate porn addict.
That's a good point. Like, yeah, I'm a proud alcoholic. I'm a proud OF subscriber. I'm a proud OF subscriber.
Just because you're proud of being something bad doesn't mean that you're somehow suddenly justified in partaking in that bad practice. Now, I already know that I'm
Sorry,
suddenly
hang
justified.
on. There's always one guy, eh? There's always one guy
in partaking in that bad practice. Now, I already know that I'm going to get pushback from the guys who are going to be like, let people do what they want with their money. And look, I get where you're coming from with this whole free market argument. But a few points. First, just because sports gambling is legal doesn't mean that it has to be advertised all over the place or normalized. Most countries have restrictions on how sports betting is advertised.
Yeah, I know that there are restrictions out there, and I just don't know to what extent. I was just in Florida, and I got upset because I kept trying to bet on Aaron Blanchfield all week, and then I kept getting the restriction notification no matter where I went. Gambling is very tempting. Feel like we should have all had that moment where your underdog pick hits, but you didn't bet and you feel like an idiot. Dude, I have that all of the time because I typically like to bet safe. You know what was tempting for in this, who knows if this is going to age well. It's insanely tempting to bet on Yanel Ashmoose to beat Quill and Salkill, but we'll see how that ends up. What am I having a blank for? We'll see how that ends up lasting in the future because he's like a 5-1 underdog last time I checked. I was recording a vid and I said, let's go get in this. Hey, I hate you, Clen. You've ruined my vote. Oh, A, not hey, A. Dude, it's normal over here to say A. I never realized how much I said it until I started streaming, and then everybody was always commenting on it.
Similar to how there are restrictions on ads for tobacco products. Second, the addictive nature of gambling makes it difficult for people to quit, which is pretty obvious, right? Gambling incentivizes the gambler to try and make his losses back, which then leads to further and further losses as he circles the drain to financial ruin.
But it doesn't, I don't know how people fall into that though. It makes sense if like you're going to take that risk because you lost like $100,000 or however much you decided to bet, right? It makes sense to like panic and want to get that back, but it's a very well-known thing to not chase your losses in betting.
There are numerous stories of gambling addicts losing not just their life savings, but their spouses and family savings too.
And they deserve that.
Maybe putting a small bet here and there may not be dangerous, but these gambling companies aren't trying to make money off of guys who are betting $5 every 6 months on some long shot parlay. They're going after the addicts, which is to be expected since that's where most of their revenue is. And let's be completely honest, running a sportsbook is probably the easiest business in the world. Think about it. What do these gambling companies do besides provide odds, take your money, and occasionally give you a return? There's no cost per unit produced like there is for other addictive substances like alcohol and cigarettes. There are no shipping costs, and you don't need to pay employees to manufacture anything.
I know what, it's gonna be AI doing it all soon too. Honestly, dude, recovery bets are crazy. I personally don't fall into it because again, I bet with such a little amount of money that, and I profit enough to the point where like I don't feel the need to chase my losses. And I'm not saying like, oh my God, look at me, I'm making so much money off of gambling. But I've been betting since I've been in high school, and I have fun doing so. Wait, deserve to lose their spouse's money? Oh, no, I didn't mean their spouse. Did he say spouse's money? I didn't mean that. I meant like if you have that much self-control and you lose your spouse, then yeah, you deserve that. That's what I thought he meant. I didn't think he spent spouse's money.
You don't even need to make tacky graphics and cartoonish character models that online casinos have to. And that is why these gambling sponsors are able to spend so much money on advertising. It's because they are basically printing money due to the lack of costs associated with their business.
I can't imagine.
All sportsbooks do is take money in and spit it back out. It's the ultimate middleman service.
And a lot of times they just keep it.
Now, that's enough about gambling for a bit. Let's move on to the subject of alcohol. On a personal level, I don't have any issue with drinking alcohol in moderation. The consumption of alcohol is still an integral part of many countries' social traditions. For example, the decline of English pubs, which have been an integral part of the nation's identity, is a fact to be lamented. However, alcohol is also a leading cause of many issues in contemporary society.
It's so true. That's the problem, man. That's the problem because it can be so damaging, but that's really anything. Like, I'm having some friends over tonight. We're going to have some beers. it's not harmful to somebody like me, you know? You gamble with your career every time you stream with the broke boys. Literally. Literally.
Although
Wait, what happened to British
demographics
pubs?
like Generation Z are consuming less alcohol, there has been
Yeah, dude, JoJo's gonna get us canceled one day.
an overall increase in alcohol consumption in recent years.
It's already happened a couple times they tried. Sorry.
Rates of liver disease, mental disorders due to alcohol abuse, and drunk driving deaths have increased in the past few years. Many of
You just
these
need to maximize the punishment for that type of stuff because there's no excuse for things like drunk driving and things that like John Jones are doing. You just need to maximize the punishment for that. Somebody like me, there's no problems with drinking, like just sitting down and watching a couple fights.
deaths could be considered deaths of despair, which are associated with the declining quality of life in countries like the US and UK. And hell, we wouldn't have Alex Bahia in the UFC if he hadn't kicked his addiction to alcohol. He now is the face of the company that pushes beer, wine, tequila, vodka, whiskey, and ready-to-drink cocktails.
You know what? I've never thought about that before. I wonder if he has a big issue with it or if he's just happy to have like the success that he's at right now.
I'm sure he has no say in the matter, of course, but I am saying that it's quite ironic that a recovered alcoholic is fighting in a cage with as
All right,
for posing...
I'm still gonna listen to this on the end, but I'm not gonna play the UFC fight anymore because the UFC is like really horny for copyright there. So I'll bring it back to the video in just a second.
And Monaco cocktails plastered all over the place. Now, as I said earlier, many fans of the UFC are likely to have a higher tendency to engage in risk-taking behaviors, one of which is alcohol abuse. And that makes them the most profitable source of income for purveyors of alcohol, as a 2018 report has shown that heavy drinkers make up 2/3 of all alcohol sales.
That makes sense. How many people do you know that, dude, even just at work? Like I go to work every day and people are talking about they can't wait to just go home and have and open a beer or have a little bit of wine, you know? What's death of despair if they already allocated with other causes? I get what he said, but is it just a wider spectrum of death? Yeah, I didn't really look too deep into that. Honestly, probably.
If people drank responsibly, the alcohol industry would lose an estimated 40% of all sales. And now, let's think about how alcohol abuse and ultimately alcoholism develops. Social drinking, as in drinking at a pub with your mates or at a bar, is not directly related to alcohol abuse. It is solitary drinking which causes problems with alcohol abuse. This is likely because friends stop friends from drinking too much, which leads to more moderate consumption of alcohol. Now,
I can't say I've had that experience. Typically, your friends would push you to drink more.
marketing alcohol to a group of friends who have gathered to watch the UFC at a house party is honestly no problem. However, that's not how most people, and especially young men, watch the UFC nowadays. And my evidence for this? The popularity of fight companions.
Yeah, that's a good point.
There's tens of thousands of young men who watch MMA not with their friends, but with a streamer whom they have a parasocial relationship with.
That's a toughie. I don't want to come out and say like anybody who watches any streamers have a parasocial relationship, because if I was sitting down well, to be honest with you, if I was by myself, I am fortunate enough where I either have friends come over, or I watch fights with my family, or I watch fights with my wife. If I was by myself, I would probably stream, but if that wasn't the case, I might just pull up a stream to see what somebody's thinking about it. Just because I did that doesn't mean I have a parasocial relationship, but I do understand his point.
The streamer, of course, isn't going to tell you to put the bottle down if you're drinking while watching. More and more men are lonely and isolated, which can lead to self-destructive behaviors like alcohol abuse, which in turn makes them more susceptible to the marketing that these companies do. And this,
I guess so. Maybe it's just because I can't really put myself into that mindset. And I know how that sounds. I don't mean to sound egotistical, but I can't really put myself into that mindset, sitting down and actually like continuously drinking and destroying my life.
Environment of isolation can lead down a dark path. Just to prove my case, here's another MMA YouTuber by the name of Rigo. Although I'm sure many of you already know who Rigo is, here's a brief rundown. Rigo is a 30-year-old grown man who has
He's 30? Oh, I thought it was this guy on the right. No, I don't personally watch Rigo. What's he saying in the chat over here? I've been vaping through... Okay. Good job, Rigo.
grooming young teenage boys, which you can see for yourself in this expose that Musical MMA made. He also made a video hypothesizing that Francis Ngannou sacrificed his recently deceased son in an occult ritual for money. And also,
oh my God,
I have personal beef with him because he took my video on Dagestani genetics and made an inferior copy of it. Now, let's see what if...
I'm not too familiar with Rigo, to be honest with you. I need to go home. You made a nowhere. Fuck off, pussy. Lightweight title shit. I have another one. Lightweight. I read that as title shot. Thinking of UFC over here. Fuck off, you pussy. Lightweight little shit. Have another one. Yeah, that's the experience that I have whenever whenever we're like not as, I don't want to say, I guess you could say heavy drinking. I don't party much nowadays, but that's the experience with alcohol with your friends.
Effects that drinking alcohol while being all alone have had on him.
You ever just look into a bottom of a beer bottle and just see your future in front of you, dude?
That's crazy. That's crazy.
When I look into the bottle of this fucking bottle, all I just see is my future.
People are getting more and more depressed as time goes on. People are looking to numb the pain with something.
Ahead of me, man. The fucking brown mess, empty brown void.
Well, that's depressing.
Gonna need more than one.
As you can see here, Rigo is currently self-medicating by drinking. He's coping because his channel is basically dead, and is currently being outperformed in terms of views by smaller channels like myself and Vampiric Legs.
Damn predictions video. Why are you acting gay right now? I am gay! I am gay!
Why are we picking on Rigo? I don't know much about Rigo at all.
I am gay.
Alright, you know, one day somebody need to clip that, and then it's not gonna look good.
It's not an act. I have not been dating a girl. I've been in a full-blown relationship with a Latino twink.
Wow.
He's got a juicy butt, juicy...
Jay, I'm not talking about that correlation. That is a touchy subject.
Eyes, little tiny belly, curly hair.
And there you have it. The guy who is trying to groom teenage boys just admitted that he is gay. Like, you can't make this stuff up.
Okay, I don't know if he's being sincere about him grooming people, but again, I just don't know about Rigo.
But who's to say that this isn't some kind of mental illness which is related to alcohol abuse, you know?
You gonna stop your drunk? I'm literally not drunk. I'm gonna go get drunk after the stream. I'm gonna walk to Super Selectos, buy a bottle of wine, just get drunk, man. Maybe I'll buy beer. I don't know what I should do.
And you could just tell like that it's not fulfilling, and they're trying to numb something, man. It's unfortunate, but I still don't go to the UFC and go like, oh, look what you're advertising the UFC, because I know deep down they want to make money off of these people, and I get it, and I'd probably do the same thing if I was in charge of a company. I find myself not caring that all too much, because again, like, I'm just gonna have some people over and we're gonna drink some beer tonight. Oh, his channel. Sorry. You were talking about the correlation that he's drinking because his channel sucks now.
I have fans. I guess I'm just gay. I'm a wait. My mom. Riggers, I'm not gay. I'm just a 30-year-old star. Keep messaging me on Instagram, and I can rape you. One day I will set up a meeting IRL. I'll tell you there's 10 riggers gonna meet at a hotel.
What am I
and
watching?
It's just gonna be you and me. I'll take you up to my room, give you a roofie, put a in your ass.
What the hell? You know what's crazy too? The thumbnail of this video had Nina on it. And I don't know if we barely touched on it. I thought they were gonna get into like LFA and the UF sponsorships too. The video is called "How the UFC Pushes Degeneracy," Mr. JOI.
I should start raping in my.
Wow! Dude, if I get a flag for that, I'm gonna be pissed.
Anyways, that's enough dunking on my ops. You get the point. Social drinking is pretty okay. Solitary drinking, on the other hand, is fucking bad.
But that's how it starts. There's always a gateway, right? You start having the first beers with a couple friends, and then all of a sudden you get a little bit too much into it. You realize it might numb a little bit of your pain. The problem is, you can relate it to so many things.
And I know that you're not tuning in to watch some random Apex Fight Night card with your friends, so try to
I am. That's me every week.
stay away from the bottom. That's my point. And speaking of the issues that are faced by lonely, solitary men, we can now get to discussing the problem
Okay, there you go.
simping in the MMA community.
That's crazy, man. That's not shocking though. I don't know, man. It's something that I've been really passionate about my entire life, because I think that adult content is literally the biggest problem in society today, and I'm not exaggerating that. I think it literally is the biggest problem. Gooning over Fortnite furry skins, that's an issue too.
The UFC doesn't explicitly,
But it legitimately is part of the problem too. Like Mr. JOY, if anybody happens to be watching this video, Mr. JOY is part of the Fortnite community on the other channel that we have over here, and the amount of people that Fortnite will post some new skin leaks and people are already gooning over it. It's crazy. And it's actually like people are finding themselves attracted to Fortnite skins.
They push OnlyFans and pornography on its audience, but they certainly don't stray away from exploiting the lowest, basest instincts of men to market.
And let's be honest here. How addicted to lust do you need to be to go, yeah, I want to watch Aylin Perez twerk in the octagon? You know, back in the day, before this was all completely normalized, everyone would have laughed somebody like Aylin Perez out of the octagon. But now everybody's so addicted to lust and addicted to touching themselves that they'll take pretty well anything they can get, any ass shaken in the octagon for them.
Their product. The foremost example of this is Nina Drama.
At least she makes a little bit more sense, because at least she's... it's just being mean. Because at least she's attractive.
As I said at the beginning of this video, Nina Drama is a pornographic model, having been a Playboy playmate. Like, I'm honestly baffled by all these simps in her comments.
That's crazy, dude. Look at this. Dreaming my next life as a Nina necklace. I'd risk it all for you. Hey, Nina, want to be my little snack? You look absolutely gorgeous. You're a goddess, dude. You know what my favorite ones are? And every time Nina posts something like, oh my god, why do you... I know, I'm digging a hole. I'm sorry. Every single time Nina posts something like, why do you think the UFC hates me? And she posts a picture, like, obviously just of her tits, like, oh my god, this is gonna bother so many people. And then there's always that one dude in the top replies being like, they just hate you because you're powerful, queen. Just don't listen to those haters.
Sing after her.
Those are my favorite people.
Nude photos of her, you can find them with a simple Google search. And those are from, you know, back when she was in her prime, back in her 20s, and not the same age as Alexander Volkanovsky. Of course, I'm not saying you should search for those photos. I'm just saying that they're out there, and there isn't much point thirsting after these scantily clad photos of her when she's already shown everything off. But yes, Nina Drama has been given priority access to fighters for interviews. It's the reason why she has grown the audience that she has.
But again, like, and I pointed to this at the beginning of the video because he mentioned Nina earlier. She was great when she first came onto the scene, because she wasn't just like, oh my god, look at me, and like just shoving her, you know, seeing literally all of her bits, you know what I mean? When she first came onto the scene, she was doing really, really fun interviews, and then she just completely shifted.
If she wasn't getting to speak to Hamzat and Strickland, she'd be nowhere. But as she has admitted herself, she is an industry plant who very explicitly uses her withering sex appeal to draw casuals in. However,
look what Dana White's doing with Power Slap. He's got Jelly Bean. Pff, that's insane. Hang on, if by the way, if anybody believes that Aylin Perez is solo responding to you, I don't know what to tell you, man. She doesn't even look beautiful. She looks like a young Aunt Nina. Yeah, but you know what? At least I get that, okay? I get that. Aylin Perez? Come on. Like, that's different. Like, Jessica Andrade has an OnlyFans account. I just learned that Valentina Shevchenko has an OnlyFans account. Like, my point being that we've gone down the hole so far that everybody likes this now. People like Aylin Perez twerking, and she twerks with her son in the cage, by the way.
Nina is
or outside the
very
cage.
Tip of the problem when it comes to the whole simping issue in MMA. And for evidence of this, just go look at how many MMA fighters have OnlyFans pages. Aylin Perez, Jessica Penne, and many others have
Jessica May. Wow.
OnlyFans pages. Hell,
Julia-
Jessica Andrade had an OnlyFans.
Exactly.
A fact which still sends shivers up my spine.
Hang on, what did he say? Luana Santos, female UFC flyweight fighter, just uploaded a video onto her Instagram story. There's no way. Did she actually do that? Does anybody watching this video know if she actually did that? Because I know the guru memes sometimes. Some ants be cooking. Don't be dissing the ants. Have you seen my Aunt May from Spider-Man? Yeah, that to be fair, that is a very, very odd case. The Aunt May from Spider-Man. I don't know why she's so attractive. Like, she's literally old. Did she actually do that? Oh, no way. I'm glad I'm not seeing anything, but what? Ew. That's crazy.
And besides all the explicit sexual content, the overwhelming majority of women's MMA fans are just there to watch Mackenzie Dern's ass jiggle.
The UFC's a big problem in that too. The UFC's a huge problem in that because they know what they're doing with the camera work. When which are shown in the video, at least they fight. What Nina does is tits presentation all the time. I guess that's true. Yeah. Yeah, but I not know she's 60. Yeah, I knew she was pushing 60, dude. Yeah, I can't believe that Luana Santos did that, man. I can't believe that. And people are still supporting her. It's not shocking, man. Like, it's not shocking.
Or sniff Alexa Grass's feet. Now,
Alexa Grass was another one. Come on, guys. Come on.
Gay.
Unlike John Jones, I can appreciate an attractive woman when I see one. But there's a time and place for everything. And when I'm watching the UFC, I don't want to have all this ultra-sexualized content shoved in my face. And that leads into my overall...
That I can agree with. I go there to watch a sport. I go there to watch some crazy knockouts. And like, it's one thing to have, like, it's just the culture. You have the ring girl walking around the octagon, but people like Nina take it to the next level.
On the UFC pushing all of this degenerate stuff onto us. When I'm watching the UFC, I'm there to watch the pinnacle of human physical accomplishment.
Agreed.
Every fighter in the UFC, even the guys we call cans, are monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Jeff Molina and even maybe Anshul Jubli could probably beat the average guy in a fight.
Just, dude, the little shots that he's been taking throughout this entire video, they're sneaky funny.
Watching great fights and great fighters should be inspiring us to achieve more in our own daily lives.
Mm-hmm. Dude, there is nothing that gets me more hyped up, and I mentioned it earlier in the stream today that I have been out of MMA for a few years now. Every single weekend, without question, I just watched one championship last night. I'm like shadowboxing in my dining room. I want to just, like, I have a friend that I spar with every once in a while. I want to call him up and be like, dude, I know it's 1 a.m., but let's fight right now. Like, and it's not like, oh, I was drinking and I'm just a little bit I'm a little bit bloodthirsty. Like, no, like, it's inspiring, man. I want to get in there. I've always been so interested in performing pro, man, but the CT and the injuries always strayed me away.
Most upcoming MMA fighters were inspired by the likes of Conor McGregor, Khabib, GSP, and Anderson Silva.
Dude, something that and this is why I was so disappointed in TJ Dillashaw, because something that I did after all of TJ Dillashaw's fights, and I modeled my own kickboxing Muay Thai style after TJ Dillashaw because I was so fascinated by his footwork. He was a complete inspiration to me, and that's why it was so disappointing when I found out that he was a PED user. I studied him. I emulated him, man. Like, that's why I love MMA. Like, this stuff is inspiring to me. Like, I don't look up to the guys and be like, oh my god. Like, it's a little bit weird to be fans of people, but when I was younger, I would say I was a huge fan of TJ Dillashaw. Can't blame her because all man's giving her views still cry about it. Like, hey Dana, kick her out. Like, bro, just report her. Yeah. Dude, all of the people, I guarantee you half the people, or if not the vast majority of people complaining about people like Nina Drama are the ones consuming her content still.
The next generation of fighters will be inspired by Islam Makhachev, Alexander Volkanovski, and Alex Pereira. And even if you're not training to be a fighter, watching strong men achieve their dreams, whether it be by fulfilling a promise to their deceased coach, or by pulling off an upset when nobody thought you had a chance, is inspiring.
Yeah, it's fun to watch.
The products that the UFC pushes, and the culture that the UFC has integrated into its marketing, leads to the polar opposite of greatness. It's there to drag you down, to prey on your basest, lowest instincts, drain you of your wealth and your health, and leave you like this.
to Rico. Okay. But it's a good point. It's a good point. I just don't. My problem is, and I don't know. You know what? I'll say it in just a second. This is almost done.
I bid you adieu.
That was a great video, man. But the problem is, like, you could argue that just cage fighting is degenerate, right? You could make that argument. It makes sense to have alcohol, women, OnlyFans. It makes sense to have all of that, but at the same time, it's such a issue in society that I get the pushback against it too. So it's one of those things where I kind of have a mixed opinion on. And that was a fantastic, fantastic video, guys. Please be sure to check out the creator in the pinned comment, or not the pinned comment of the stream, but it is in the description of the stream. Once we turn into a video, it will be in the pinned comment description down below. And she'll became from a fighter to a meme. It's unfortunate, but yeah. And then I feel bad for him, man. He had so much hype, and he has his entire country looking forward to him, and he just comes in and just gets stomped on. I think the main issue is most fighters also crash out horribly too, as well as the viewers. I wouldn't say most fighters crash out horribly. We certainly see people go down dark paths. It varies from person to person. There's a lot of people who have a great career from MMA. Man, like, even just watching that, even talking about fighters being inspiring. Man, I'm so excited to watch the fights tonight. I want to fight now. Like, and again, it doesn't come from any sort of bloodthirst. It doesn't come from any issues. I'm not excited because I'm gambling. I love the sport so much. I love the technique. I can't wait to watch some fights tonight, guys. But I am going to call the stream there. Everybody who chatted, Jay, Pratham, I appreciate you guys being here. We had a couple more too. Leo, thank you very much for your time. It's very, very appreciated. If anybody wants to continue watching the channel. Oh, sorry, just 1 second. He's a good fighter, but his coach is a fanboy and a clout chaser. Oh, Anshul. I was like, who are we talking about? I don't know anything about his coach. His coach is a fanboy and a clout chaser. That explains why he's not performing. You can't have a coach being a fan of you and somebody who's a clout chaser. Oh, I get that, but the infrastructure for other sports is going to... I get that, but the infrastructure for other sports to help sportsmen seems better to help them. Yeah, you're probably right on that. But I can't really have a too strong of an opinion on that because I don't keep up with too many other sports. I'm a very, very, very casual viewer of other sports. But again, I appreciate your time over here, guys. If anybody's interested, I am going to go live over on the Clen Channel. We're going to be playing some Fortnite. We're going to be talking about some gaming. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time. Please go check out the creator of this video in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Take care.